Hi, this is the Democratic Labour report for the week. It's Friday the 2nd of December. Yes, it's December 2022. We're coming up to the end of the year. As the parliamentary term comes to an end, it ends on the 6th of December, where we discuss the Fala report on the 6th of December. Be interesting to report back on that and those discussions. But as the whole world now waits for the future resignation of the president, it looks like everyone's talking about that and not about the real problems in the country. Whether the president resigns or not is something that is not in our hands. It's not something that we need to debate. We know that he's done wrong. We know that there are criminal acts involved. That's become clear from the initial report that we've seen from the three judges. The reality is that this is going to play a havoc in our lives for a few weeks, and it's going to be one of the nails in the coffin of South Africa if we don't sort it out quickly and we don't get a democratic government into power in 2024. We must do so. So the matter is becoming more and more urgent, and from the Democratic Alliance, we send the message out to the people of South Africa. You would never see this under a Democratic Alliance coalition government. You would never see something of that nature, which is absolutely ridiculous. We've become the laughing stock of the world, and we've actually somehow managed to almost hog the airwaves of the world as well. And the president won't be able to claim a constructive dismissal and go to the CCMA. No one's forced him out. The wrongdoing is all of his own. Well, to move on, we're also going to talk about the civil service strike. We're going to talk about bargaining councils, employment figures, which were slightly up, maybe a glimmer of hope. The ban on copper and metal trading is going to be discussed, and then the employment of the disabled. So thank you for tuning in, Friday the 2nd of December 2022. And thank you for listening to me. I'm Michael Bagram. I'm the Labour spokesperson for the Democratic Alliance. Well, the civil service strike, which we've spoken about now in the last 3 weeks, was supposed to have started on Tuesday. For some reason or other, it was a damp squib. We didn't hear anything at all. Initially, they said that the taxi strike got in the way of the civil service strike, and therefore they couldn't strike. I mean, it sounds bizarre, but only in South Africa, where you have a strike of taxis, actually cancelling the strike of the civil service. So there you have it. There's never a dull moment in South Africa. And of course, under the Democratic Alliance, we wouldn't have actually allowed that civil service strike to even be discussed. It would be settled beforehand. And so we wait and see. There's no settlement yet between the civil service and government. Government's offering the 3%, which they said that's all they can afford, and which is probably true. And the civil service are now stuck on 10%, which they're saying takes them above inflation. They don't want to go backwards. So we have a standoff. And of course, the Minister of Employment and Labour, Thulas Nakezi, again, is sitting on his hands, probably sitting in Mauritius somewhere, drinking a pina colada and relaxing. I want to move on to the bargaining councils. Many businesses belong to bargaining councils. Those bargaining councils, like the old industrial councils, set up terms of conditions of service of employees. And in this instance, we're seeing the bargaining councils in South Africa shrinking quite rapidly. First of all, the workforce is shrinking. And second of all, membership of trade unions is shrinking. But third, which is the most important, is that many businesses are choosing to go rogue. They just go under the radar. They want to trade illegally. Our harsh labor regulations, our harsh labor law has forced small businesses to go under the radar. Now, that's the point. The point is the Democratic Alliance has come out many times and said that we want to deregulate. We want to decouple small business from big business. We need to hackle and we need to push away the bargaining councils completely so that small businesses at the end of the day can stand on their own 2 feet and can create employment, which is where employment is going to be created in the future. So it's something that we need to watch very carefully. We're pushing. I know that almost every single week at the Portfolio Committee on Employment and Labour, both myself and Dr. Cardo raise the issues about small businesses, and we're pushing it home. Slowly but surely, our colleagues in other political parties are starting to take note of what the Democratic Alliance is saying and doing, and they're also taking note of what's happening in the Western Province, where in fact people are flocking to the Western Province because it's the only province where you can find jobs. Which then brings me on to the next point, and that's the employment figures that have just come out. We've actually got a slight rise in employment in South Africa, but unfortunately this happens every third quarter. Every third quarter, as the business community gear itself up for the holiday and festive season, production figures go up slightly because everyone wants to put in their orders. You want to complete all your orders. You're going to be closing. Most of the production houses are closing from the 15th of December until the second week of January. They need to have stock, so they employ casuals. They employ people to come in and get that stock going, get their shelves full so that when they have to deliver to the retail businesses, they've got it. It's the same in the industry that services the tourists. The whole tourism industry is starting to gear itself up for a busy season, especially in the Cape Province. And thank God for that. We've got wonderful figures coming through, and we need to thank Councillor James Voss from the City of Cape Town, a DA member from the City of Cape Town, who's doing amazing work, trying to bring as many tourists and attracting as many tourists from around the world, which is good for the business community, good for job creation, and of course good for the country. And so we're seeing the figures go up a little bit in that third quarter, but then of course we normally do see it. But when you see the latest figures coming out of the government surveys, we can see that they don't differentiate between part-time jobs and full-time jobs. They don't differentiate between casual jobs, in other words, for a short period of time or a long period of time. And I have a very strong feeling that a lot of these jobs are casual jobs or short-term jobs, and in fact purely there to gear up for the season. Again, the Western Province is trying to create permanent jobs, and they're doing fantastic work, and their effort has been superb in this job creation here in the Western Province. But all the other provinces, we're seeing big drops. Now, there's also been this now new ban on copper and whatever, and yes, it's bad to have copper theft. Yes, it's bad for the destruction of the railways, etc., telecom, because people are stealing copper. But you don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. So what you do is you have a blanket ban on the sale of copper, second-hand copper, and that blanket ban is going to destroy thousands of jobs again. So it doesn't make sense in what they're doing. Rather tackle the problem, tackle the theft. Don't just ban the whole industry. That's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. Doesn't make any sense at all. And again, the Democratic Alliance has tried to explain this to our national government, who are deaf once again. They're just not prepared to listen at all. And then finally, I just wanted to touch on disability, the employment of the disabled community. I did ask the Minister the question about the disabled. We know that the disabled community make up from 7 to 8%, I think, of the population. And so you would expect that would be reflected in the workforce. It isn't. And in fact, even the government is employing less than 1% in government jobs, or less than 1% of the disabled. And they've been talking about their own target of 3% now for 10 years, and they don't do it. So for them to shout about employment equity is ridiculous. They don't even follow their own figures in their own government. So thank you for listening to me. It's Michael Bagram, Labour Report from the Democratic Alliance, and it's Friday the 2nd of December 2022. Thank you once again.